Asked.
Black Star Pirate Radio.
The air in here is thick with the ghost of circuits past, a low hum vibrating through the floorboards. Anansi's custom meters pulse with a steady, defiant glow. Patch cables snake across the console, bridging errors, while the faint scent of hot dust and fresh coffee hangs heavy, a promise of signal. Welcome back to TogeeVision, Freedom Seekers. Across Ardmore Flats, the dial sits at 87 Fahrenheit under light rain with thunderstorm. Airflow is south at about 13 miles per hour. We're tuning the static into signal, building our own structures of understanding, unburdened by external noise. Tonight, the tension centers on Trump's address taking a bitter turn after hailing amazing job by reporters at a gala.
Concrete facts. At the White House Correspondents' Dinner, President Trump initially praised the press for their amazing job, only to then launch into a scathing attack on specific news outlets and journalists, calling them fake news. This exposed the performative nature of his praise and the deep animosity he holds for media scrutiny, leaving journalists feeling targeted and eroding public trust, with 55% of Americans already believing news is biased. A viable alternative for Trump would have been to use the platform for a genuine dialogue on press freedom and responsibilities, perhaps focusing on the role of local journalism rather than a partisan attack.
It wasn't just a speech. It felt like a jester mocking the court from within, turning the traditional roast into a public shaming ritual for democracy's watchdogs. The lineage here connects to historical moments where leaders attempted to delegitimize information gatekeepers, aiming to sow confusion and erode collective trust in verifiable facts.
Exactly. This isn't just about hurt feelings. It's about systematically dismantling the civic architecture of accountability. To counter this, our chosen next move should be a truth anchor initiative. Media outlets and independent journalists, instead of reacting to every attack, should proactively publish daily fact-checked baselines of key policy discussions, using clear analysis to turn confusion into actionable vectors for public understanding. This builds resilient inner architecture for consumers of news, asserting self-worth as structural.
Patching in a caller, the critical thinker. You're on the signal.
So he attacked the press. What's the real cost beyond hurt feelings? Doesn't it just energize his base, proving he's fighting the fake news? Who actually loses here beyond the immediate target?
Somewhere a capacitor creaks under the load, hot metal. The console keeps its lights and its secrets. That's the core question, critical thinker. When the leader's rhetoric incites division, it echoes far beyond a Washington ballroom, sometimes sparking real-world violence, as we've seen on the streets of South Africa. Our next signal comes from South Africa, where the ICC has been asked to look into xenophobic violence.
The system is failing to integrate logic and emotion. Our chosen next move is to launch Ubuntu Bridges, a grassroots digital platform where displaced foreign nationals can securely document their experiences, prove provenance of their businesses through digital receipts, and share their stories, integrating their lived reality with verifiable data. This asserts their unwavering autonomy, making their self-worth structural, not contingent on state protection, favoring dignity.
Patching in a caller. Go ahead.
ICC involvement sounds serious, but international courts move slowly. While they investigate, what happens to the people on the ground right now? Who is paying the immediate price for this systemic violence? And what keeps it from erupting again next month?
You're right, critical thinker. The immediate safety and dignity of individuals can't wait for international tribunals. And speaking of jurisdictional power and accountability, we're seeing another clash of sovereignty, this time between the UK and Kenya. From that dossier to this one, Modi cancels army training in Kenya over powers.
Concrete facts. The UK Ministry of Defence abruptly cancelled Exercise Askari Storm, involving 200 British soldiers, a program valued at over £20 million annually. This happened after Kenya's parliament passed legislation asserting its right to prosecute foreign soldiers, including British personnel, in Kenyan courts for crimes committed on its soil. This exposes the UK's long-standing expectation of legal immunity for its troops stationed abroad and Kenya's firm stand on national sovereignty. A concrete alternative path for the UK would be to negotiate a revised Status of Forces Agreement, SOFA, that includes a clear, jointly administered judicial mechanism, ensuring accountability and respecting Kenyan law without completely ceding jurisdiction, rather than an immediate cancellation.
This isn't just a legal spat. It's a modern echo of colonial-era agreements where former imperial powers expected legal carte blanche, now clashing with a nation asserting its sovereign dignity. The lineage connects to Kenya's struggle for true independence, where the land and its laws must govern all, not just some, like a refusal to accept old land lease terms for a new generation.
The UK's reaction shows a toxic residue of entitlement, failing sharp discernment. Our chosen next move is for Kenyan civil society to initiate a sovereign justice audit. They should compile a public, detailed record of all alleged incidents involving British soldiers on Kenyan soil over the last decade, linking each to potential domestic and international legal precedents. This builds a resilient civic architecture that favors provenance and dignity for Kenyan law, integrating logic and emotion into a compelling case for equitable judicial process.
There's a caller on the line. That's the tension. The perceived cost of asserting autonomy versus the long-term benefit of structural self-worth. It forces all parties to define their boundaries, just as we aim to define ours.
Black Star Pirate Radio.
Continue the signal at TogeeVision.com. Tune in, Sparks and Stories, Gig Passport.